She had just enough time to grab the gun from the belt of one of the banditos as he fell, and then duck as the man behind her grabbed for her. With a well-aimed elbow, she caught him in the Adam's apple. He grabbed his throat, staggering backwards, but not before she confiscated his knife from the sheath on his bicep and jammed it into his neck. Pulling it out, Elena sent a spray of blood across her face. The hinges screamed another rusty protest as Tex's brothers burst into the saloon. Elena drew down on Slade, but if Tex's shout of no hadn't frozen her, the cock of Cy's pistol at her head, his man, as he slipped the gun from her hand before pulling her out of the fray with the flex of a bicep around her waist did the job. For a second, she took one look at the sinister, eye-patched man holding her and began fighting. She stomped on his toe with the heel of her boot. He grunted, but did not let her go. She shifted her heel, aiming for his balls. He caught it with his thick thighs. She pitched her head back in an attempt to headbutt him. He grabbed the back of her neck. He was the most infuriating man. She was going to love killing him. Before she finished the thought, Cy grabbed her bound hand, slicing through one of the ropes, before turning her to face the wall. Pressing her to it with his powerful frame, he roped her like a calf, but so fast it was as if she wasn't struggling, as if she was standing still, inviting him to tie her up. He was almost done binding her when the beautiful stranger shouted, "Cy, she's with us." With that single brown eye flashed for a second before he sliced through her bonds with a wicked-looking bowie and handed her back the gun. Elena tipped her hat aside before snatching the knife from him, sticking it in her belt and taking off across the room towards Manuel with no regard for flying bullets. She palmed the hammer on the revolver. Bullets exploded from the gun as she laid on cover fire in her wake. Her eyes blazed and zeroed in on her target. Shit. Manuel was firing at him from behind the now turned over table as Tex took cover behind the bar. Tex could shoot Manuel without risking Slade. It was very rare that they ever ran across anyone as large as Slade or Dylan. Tonight just so happened to be one of those nights that Slade had to wrestle around with the man who was every bit the giant that he was, directly behind Manuel, directly in Tex's line of fire. Luke wasn't faring any better as far as his position, as he threw light jabs, toying with the man he fought, contemplating the most entertaining way to kill him. He didn't see Dirch or Dylan, but he was hoping they would surface soon and do what they did best. With a yell that brought all action to a pause, Elena jumped on Manuel's broad back and drawing Cy's knife from her belt. She couldn't get a grip on his sweaty, greasy neck. He elbowed her, knocking the wind from her as she hit the floor. She hit the floor, sending Cy's bowie skidding off. He smiled the devil's own smile at her as he reached down, grabbing her throat. As he lifted her, change that reaching. Down, grabbing her throat. As he lifted her, Elena began to kick and claw at his hands. Sending her hair whipping about violently. Too bad. I have to kill you now. I know you would have made my cock very happy, no? He smiled as he added another hand to her throat. Slade kicked the man in the chest, sending him flying down the stairs into the saloon, and then looked at his younger brother. Slade kicked the man he fought in the chest, sending him flying down the stairs into the saloon, and then looked at his youngest brother. Watched him reload his gun before sliding the well-oiled cylinder closed, and knew exactly what was going through his mind. Slade shouted, "Tex, you keep your ass behind that bar, I'll kill you myself." Too late. Tex had jumped over the bar. "Son of a bitch," Slade grunted as the man ran at him, hitting him center mass in a tackle that almost took him off his feet. A bullet tore through Tex's duster with a hiss as he advanced on Manuel, keeping his eyes and a gun on his right hand in the overly large mass of flesh that not only thought it okay to choke a woman, but to do it in front of the lords. He returned fire with his left in the direction from which the bullet had come and ruined his coat. Satisfied with the sickening splat of a bullet tearing flesh, a scream, and then a body hitting the ground, he kept walking, as visions of horror and carnage from his childhood, unspeakable acts that no child should have had to witness. But his father made him watch, flickered across his line of vision. Elena made a sickening sound. Her blood-splattered face sagged as her eyes rolled into the back of her head. As he often did, Tex replaced Manuel's face with his father's and pulled the trigger. Manuel's head snapped back. When it came back up, there was a hole between his eyes from which dark-colored gore poured. Tex caught Elena, pulling her to him as Manuel fell. He holstered his guns, tucking her head against his chest. As Dylan whistled, signaling for the brothers to hit the deck, while he and Dirch blew the heads off anything left standing. There was a tickle of a few last shards of tinkle. There was the tinkle of a few last shards of glass falling, the clatter of wood falling that had been splintered away. The clatter of wood that had been splintered away with gunshots. And the crunch of footsteps as the Lord stirred. There was the tinkle of a few last shards of glass falling, a clatter of wood that had been splintered away, and the crunch of footsteps as the Lord stirred. "Slade," Dylan called, "you alive?" "No," Slade called back. "The next time either of you dumbasses shoot somebody and they land on me, your asses are kicked." "The next time either of you dumbasses shoot somebody and they land on me, your ass is kicked." He grunted as he pushed the man off him. "You're welcome," Dylan and Dirch said in unison as they descended the stairs, uncocking their weapons. Luke went behind the bar to check on the bartender as Tex lifted Elena into his arms, and Cy knocked the table off his... side to get his knife. Tex watched his brother holstering his guns as he approached. He was going to lay him out for putting himself in danger and demand explanations because they were his brothers, and that's how it should be. He didn't worry about being in a bar or anywhere alone, didn't worry about who would stand for him or who would have his back. But Elena had none of that. She was alone, holding her own. Now she was barely breathing, beautiful, half naked, and choked almost to death in a bar in the middle of the night, when most women as beautiful and young as she were tucked in bed with their husbands or children, and no knowledge of how to hold a 6-shooter or a knife. What had happened to this little hellcat that necessitated such a skill? Such skill. Not for the first time, the feeling twisted in his gut. The thought that no matter how many men like his father they killed, there would always be a Jared Lord somewhere. He gritted his back teeth, stroking Elena's cheek, speaking softly to her. "We got you a room at the hotel down the street a bit." He gritted his back teeth, "Get her in bed." Slade pushed his hat back on his head. "I'll go find a doctor." Tex closed his eyes. Sometimes it was good that his brothers read his mind. He didn't want to talk now, and he was grateful they didn't either. Tex went to put his finger under Elena's nose again when she answered the question of how she was doing for him by springing to a squat, snatching a pistol off the floor as she did, aiming it at Tex's chest. In rapid succession, 6 pistols cocked and were aimed at her. "Put him down, guys," Tex said, locking his gaze to hers. "You know that ain't happening, little brother," Dylan said as he and Slade got closer. Y'all listen to him, Elena said, with a white-knuckle grip on the pistol. Look around, Elena. We're on your side, Tex said, indicating the body strewn about. I'd say I was indebted to you, but it's been my experience that a lot of men are of the mind that women should pay their debts with pussy, she said, planting her feet, pretending not to notice their lack of reaction to her crude response. Tex smiled